who all have joined the call this morning. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Radha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai, Preeti Dasi from Chicago. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Preeti Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Arvind Das from Chicago. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Arvind Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for joining the call and giving your association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Radha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam to you and all Vaishnavas, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Vrinda.
Hare Krishna, Ranga Gopika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavat Pranam, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to the assembled devotees. Yashamati from Chicago.
Hare Krishna, Yashamati Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call and giving your association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Radha Mataji, all glories Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajis. My humble obeisances to you and all the devotees. This is Krishna Kumari Devinasi from Raj.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Kumari Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to all the devotees. This is Sushmita from Canada.
Hare Krishna, Shishmita Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call and giving your association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Radha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devidasi from Texas.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. This is Padma Sakhi Devidasi from Florida.
Hare Krishna, Padma Sakhi Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call and giving your association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Radha Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Anita from Sharjah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Anta Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Radha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Shyama Gauri Devidasi from India.
Hare Krishna, Shyama Gauri Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call and giving your association from India also. Thank you so much. Anybody else would like to introduce?
Prabhuji is not yet joined, Mataji.
Okay, Mataji, we can chant, Mataji.
We can do introduction and we can stop the recording if Prabhuji did not come.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Once again, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha conference call. Today we are fortunate to have His Grace Akincana Krishna Prabhuji to enlighten us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam 5th canto 28th chapter verse 5 onwards. First, I would like to hand over call to Suresh Shyam Prabhuji for brief introduction of Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Suresh Shyam Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Over to call Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Yeah, a brief introduction about Prabhuji. His Grace Akincana Krishna Prabhuji hails from Mumbai. He has dedicated full time to monastic services, brahmacharya in ISKCON in the year 1999. He had a short stint working in the industry for 2 years in Blue Star Limited and PC Software Private Limited after completing his graduation in Electronics and Telecommunications Engineering and post-graduation in Business Management. Prabhuji served as a value educator in schools, Gita for college youths, and gives seminars for corporate young professionals on stress and time management. Gita principles for a satisfying life and motivational seminars for the youth in ISKCON Chowpatty's Prerana Youth Festival. He is a regular Srimad Bhagavatam speaker in ISKCON Girgaon Chowpatty. He has been taking weekly spiritual discourses for devotee community in Panvel, Karghar and Seawoods, South Mumbai. He also organizes 2 youth spiritual trips and talks for British sabbatical youths from the Bhakti Vedanta manor every year. Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Back to you, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Nice introduction. Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for joining the call and giving your valuable time and association to us this morning and enlightening our topic of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now I would like to hand over call to you, Prabhuji. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha Conference Call. Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Nashta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan सहगणा ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा। Welcome all of you to this Srimad Bhagavatam class. So I presume that we are reading from the 5th canto, 20th chapter, text number 5. Am I right?
Yes, Babuji.
Okay, so I will be sharing the screen right now. Hope you can see the screen. Yes. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
रत्नस्य विष्णु रूपं यत् सत्यस्यर्थस्य ब्रह्मणः अमृतस्य च मृत्योश्च सूर्यम् आत्मानमिमाहिति. Translation: This is the mantra by which the inhabitants of Plakshadweep worship the Supreme Lord. Let us take shelter of the Sun God, who is a reflection of Lord Vishnu, the all-expanding Supreme Personality of Godhead, the oldest of all persons. Vishnu is the only worshipable Lord. He is the Vedas, he is religion, and he is the origin of all auspicious and inauspicious results. Purport: Lord Vishnu is even the Supreme Lord of Death, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Mrityu sarvaharashchaham. There are two kinds of activity, auspicious and inauspicious, and both are controlled by Lord Vishnu. Inauspicious activities are said to be behind Lord Vishnu, whereas auspicious activities stand before him. The auspicious and the inauspicious exist throughout the entire world, and Lord Vishnu is the controller of them both. In regard to this verse, Sri Madhvacharya says, Surya Somagni Varisha Vidatrishu Yatha Kramam Lakshadi Dvipas Samsthasu Sthitam Harim Upasati. There are many lands, fields, mountains, oceans throughout the creation, and everywhere the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped by his different names. Srila Veera Raghav Acharya explains this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam as follows. The original cause of the cosmic manifestation must be the oldest person and must therefore be beyond material transformations. He is the enjoyer of all auspicious activities and is the cause of conditional life and also liberation. The demigod Surya, who is categorized as a powerful, very powerful jiva or living entity, is a representation of one of the parts of his body. We are naturally subordinate to powerful living entities, and therefore we can worship the various demigods as living beings who are powerful representatives of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although the worship of the Sun God is recommended in this mantra, he is worshipped not as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but as his powerful representative. In the Katha Upanishad 1.3.1, it is said, Ritam pibantau sukratya loke kuham pravishtav parame pararthe chayayat tapau brahma vido vadanti panchagnayo ye chatrina chiketaha. O Nachiketa, the expansions of Lord Vishnu as the tiny living entity and the super soul are both situated within the cave of the heart of this body. Having entered that cavity, the living entity, resting on the chief of the life airs, enjoys the results of activities, and the super soul, acting as witness, enables him to enjoy them. Those who are well versed in the knowledge of Brahman and those householders who carefully follow the Vedic regulations say that the difference between the two is like the difference between a shadow and the sun. In the Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6.16, it is said, Sa Vishvakrit Vishvavidatmayonihi Nya Kala Akaro Guni Sarvavidya Pradhana Kshetragya Patir Guneshaha Samsara Moksha Sthitibandha Hetuhu. The Supreme Lord, the creator of this cosmic manifestation, knows every nook and corner of his creation. Although he is the cause of creation, there is no cause for his appearance. He is fully aware of everything. He is the super soul, the master of all transcendental qualities. And he is the master of this cosmic manifestation in regard to bondage of the conditional state of material existence and liberation from that bondage. Similarly, in the Taittiriya Upanishad 2.8, it is said, Bhishmasmad Vataha Pavate Bisho Deti Suryaha Vishasmad Agnischandrascha Mrityur Dhavati Panchama. It is out of fear of the Supreme Brahman that the wind is blowing, out of fear of him that the sun regularly rises and sets, and out of fear of him that fire acts. It is only due to fear of him that Death and Indra, the king of heaven, perform their respective duties. As described in this chapter, the inhabitants of the 5 islands, beginning with Lakshadweep, worship the sun god, the moon god, the fire god, the air god, Lord Brahma, respectively. Although they engage in the worship of these 5 demigods, however, they actually worship Lord Vishnu, the super soul of all living entities, as indicated in this verse by the words Pratnasya Vishnu Rupam. Vishnu is Brahma, Amrit, Mrityu, the Supreme Brahman and the origin of everything, auspicious and inauspicious. He is situated in the heart of everyone, including all the demigods, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Kamaistaister ratajnanaha prapadyante devataha. Those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender unto the demigods. People who are almost blind because of lusty desires are recommended to worship the demigods, to have their material desires fulfilled. But actually those desires are not fulfilled by the material gods. Whatever the demigods do is done with the sanction of Lord Vishnu. People who are too lusty worship various demigods instead of worshipping Lord Vishnu, the super soul of all living entities. But ultimately it is Lord Vishnu they worship because he is the super soul of all demigods. Hare Krishna. So many points here. Hare Krishna. Let me open my purport in my phone. Okay. So Pratnyasya Vishnu Rupam Yat Satyasyartasya Brahmanah Amritasya cha Mrityuscha Suryam Atmanam Imahiti. So here in this section of the 20th chapter, which is actually the study of the structure of the universe, where this Bhumandal, which consists of these 7 islands, yes, Lakshadweep, Salmalidweep, and Kushadweep, and Kaunchadweep, and Shakadweep, and Pushkaradweep. Each the 7 oceans, and there are 6 islands actually, not 7 islands. There's 6 islands, which is being described here in this 20th chapter. And these 6 islands are divided by the oceans. Yes, so 1 like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like that. So there are these oceans which are dividing them. And now this the residents of Lakshadweep, they worship the sun god, and that is the whole prayer that is being mentioned here. And here they, as it is explained here, that they are taking shelter of the sun god, and they understand that the sun god is actually a reflection of Lord Vishnu. So that is there in this prayer, who is a reflection of Lord Vishnu. And he is the only worshipable Lord. They know that also. Yes, he is the Veda, he is the religion, he is the origin of all auspicious and inauspicious results. He himself causes the bondage of the living entity, and he is also the cause of liberation of every living entity. So as we can see that they are not in ignorance. See, in ancient times, people were very much aware. Only today that people are confused as to who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In India especially, there's a great confusion. Fortunately, those who are connected with ISKCON, they know very specifically that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord, not just even Vishnu, but actually Krishna is the source of even the Purusha avatars. Even Vishnu is the source of, or is coming from Lord Krishna. So it is indeed a very privileged position that all of our ISKCON devotees have, this understanding and this very systematic knowledge, which Srila Prabhupada has given without any ambiguity. See, So therefore, we have to really be grateful for this very amazing presentation of Srila Prabhupada, which has left not an iota of doubt in the minds of those followers, of all of us, as to who is the Supreme Personality of God. You know, people in worshipping Durga and Ganapati. What is the position of the demigod with respect to Lord Vishnu? What are their roles? What is the mood of worship of these gods versus the worship of Vishnu? Everything has been very, very, very systematically explained, and I'm sure that you've already heard all these concepts before. However, because Srila Prabhupada is now mentioning again in this verse, we may have to again go through these things. Yes. So let us begin with, since now the chapter is entitled as like the study of the universe. So the question may come as to why, what is the necessity for explaining all these details of the universe to a man who is on his deathbed, who's about to die within a few days. And you see that Srimad Bhagavatam Puran, one of the contents of all Puranas is this: Sargascha, Pratisargascha, Sthanam, Poshanam, Utayah, Manvantareshanu, Ishanu Katha, Virodho, Muktirashrayah. Yes, all that. So, if you see, one of the contents of Puran is this: the creation, how the creation took place, Sargascha, Pratisargascha, the primary creation, the secondary creation. Actually, all Purans, they have this. It's part of it. A very detailed explanation, especially in Srimad Bhagavatam, because it is a Mahapuran that contains some extra, subject matters of devotional service, etc. And so, therefore, a question may come into our minds as to what need is there for all these things. Like even in the Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter, we read, Krishna says, Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Har Tat Brahmano Viduhu. She says, Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Har Tat Brahmano Viduhu. Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam Teho Ratra Vido Janaha. Yes. So, Sahasra Yuga Paryantam is explaining that how Brahma's day equals 1,000 millenniums. Sahasra Yuga. And then Ahar Tat Brahmano Vidu, and even the night, day Ahar and Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam, and including the night, which is 12 hours of Brahma, that is the night of Brahma, is also 1,000 millennia. So we have already seen previously, I already mentioned that the duration of Brahma's day, 12 hours, is 4.32 billion years. And so also is his night. So both put together is 8.64 billion years. That way. And we know, if you read the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord mentions that, Maam upetya tu kaunteya dukkha lema shashvatam napnuvanti mahatmanaha samsiddhim paramam gata. So he says that those who attain me, Maam upetya, dukkhalem, you don't have to enter into this material world. So he is emphasizing that this material world is a temporary place. Temporary place. And then he goes on to explain very briefly in Bhagavad Gita, but very elaborately in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because the Lord is the engineer, is it not? In that sense. Of course, Brahma is a secondary engineer, but the primary engineer is Lord Vishnu. Yes. Just like, say, for example, in India, there's a tie-up with many international manufacturers, companies. Like some car comes from abroad in the form of parts, and then they are assembled in India. They're not manufactured in India. They come in parts and then they are assembled here. So we can say that the primary manufacturers are abroad, and then secondary manufacturing takes place in India. So similarly, the primary manufacturer, primary producer is Krishna or Vishnu, and the secondary creators are Brahma, who puts together things, like assembles and creates this universe. Okay, so the question then comes into our minds, who's reading the scriptures, okay, then what about the universe? Give me some details. And so then Krishna gives the details. He says, Brahma bhuvana aloka punaravartino arjuna mamupetito kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate. And then he goes on to say, Brahma bhuvana aloka. So right from the abode of Lord Brahma up to the lowermost planet, that is Patal Loka, is what? Punar Avartino Arjuna. It's the place of repetition. It's the place of repeated births. They are not eternal. So now again, a question may come to our minds that, okay, is it Brahmaloka? Okay, where is Brahmaloka? Where is Patal Loka? And it's natural for an intelligent mind. And please understand, this Bhagavatam is 5,000 years old. It's eternal, of course. All the Veda has no date to it. Sanatan Dharma. So we have to understand that this has been read, and this is for the information of people, not of Kali Yuga alone, but from all yugas. And naturally, Kali Yuga people are less intelligent, but there are people from other yugas who are far more intelligent, or who are interested to know more about the universe, in order to be convinced to take up a devotional service. When Krishna says that this material world is a temporary place, so all right, so show me, and I want to see. And so the Lord says, all right, here it is. And therefore all these details, you see. Now we may not be interested in all those dimensions and all this Pakshadweep and Shalmaladweep and all this. It seems like quite unnecessary, it's quite complex also to understand. But however, we can see that Brahma Bhuvana Loka. So anyway, the whole idea of the Lord or the devotees mentioning about all these details of the universe is to somehow or another convince the listeners that, hey, look, this material world is a temporary place. And wherever you go, what do you find? It's just birth, old age, disease, and death. Because that's how I have made it. I've made it. I am the chief engineer. I know how I've made this universe. There's no place here which is free from birth and death. No one in this world is immortal. Even Brahma is not immortal. And look, hey, look at these people who are in these other islands. You can't even access those places. You don't know that they exist, but yes, they do. And look, whom do they worship? Even they worship me. They worship Vishnu. They don't consider the demigods to be supreme. Only the people of Kali Yuga foolishly think that demigods are supreme, and they keep worshipping them. So this is the thing which it's inspiring to see that how these greatly evolved living entities are there in every island of this Bhumandal, and they're all worshipping Lord Vishnu. So therefore, says, Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartino Archana Mamupetya Kaunteya Punarjanmana Vidyate. And therefore, Arjun, worship me. If you worship me, you do not have to come back into this world. Anywhere you go in this Bhumandal, or you go to Swarga, or you go to Brahmaloka, there are problems everywhere. Don't we read in the Srimad Bhagavatam how the gods are fighting with the demons? Don't we read this? Isn't there envy and insecurity even within the gods? Yes. I mean, don't we read in the Srimad Bhagavatam how Indra became envious of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, the well-wisher of everyone? And Indra is insecure, and he pours down rain and hail and all those things for 7 days and 7 nights. Isn't there envy within the gods? And thus you find as a result of that, even the gods are envious of each other, and there's so much of trouble. The demons are attacking the demigods are attacking the demons, and sometimes the demigods have to end up being defeated. Didn't we read about Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha? Huh? Didn't we read how Indra gets cursed by the Rishi, Gautam Rishi, when he came and he polluted his wife? Haven't we read this? In the Ramayana, Ahalya, the story is there. Yes. Indra, he was lusting after Gautam Rishi's wife, Ahalya. And he comes and he pollutes her, and then he gets cursed in return to have, the 1,000 privates of a woman on his body. And he became so shameful, ashamed and so embarrassed that he fell at the feet of the Rishi and he says, please save me. How can I live with this? And he says, all right, okay, I'll bless you. And he converts those privates into the eyes, and therefore Indra has got 1,000 eyes. I mean, this is not to insult of any god or something, but just the fact we have to know that, we are not free of these problems. The lust, greed, anger, pride is in all of us. It's just that the gods are also not free of them. It's not that, of course, they are highly evolved beings. Indra is one of the servants of Krishna there. He's also a devotee of Krishna. But the fact still remains that they are mixed devotees. They are karma mishra bhaktas. They are not pure devotees. They are karma mishra. That means they worship the Lord. At the same time, they have this desire within them to be controllers, to be in power, to receive worship, recognition. So all these things are there within them. Therefore, they come in the category of karma mishra bhaktas. They are not shuddha bhaktas. So you see, all the gods, they are also not free from envy. And therefore the Srimad Bhagavatam says that why do you aspire to go even to those places? Now, I've described you all these universal aspects. I've described to you heaven and all those higher planets. But why do you aspire to go there? Even if you go there, you'll be amongst those who are envious by nature. You will be part of the problem. You also will be envious. They will also be envious of you. And then the thing goes on. And the example, there's a verse also which says that just like we cultivate crops, and a farmer, he cultivates the crops. Naturally, there are many obstacles. It's infected with disease and locusts, and sometimes there's too much rain and there's less rain, or sometimes the crops are destroyed. And there's a lot of problems. A farmer has to go through a lot of impediments in order to get a good harvest. So therefore the scriptures say, just like that, every attempt at enjoying in this world is faced with a lot of impediments. Impediments from others, impediments from our own selves. Para dukkha dukkhi, para sukha. Friend goes and asks his friend, why are you so upset? Friend says, that is because you're so happy. Seeing you so happy makes me miserable. This is our problem, you see. All the problems are because of the tendency to enjoy. We immediately become envious of others who are more successful at enjoying than us, and it never stops. It never stops. So therefore the scriptures say anywhere in the universe you go, anywhere, whether heaven or even hell, and then what to speak of hell then? There's so much of suffering there. So why do you aspire to go anywhere else? Why do you aspire to worship any demigod who is not free from faults? Worship the pure devotees of the Lord. Worship Lord Vishnu. And aspire to go Paramam gatim abhyaktokshara ityuktas tamahu paramam gatim yam prapyana vartante tattam paramam mama. Krishna then describes beyond this universe. Abhyakto akshara ityuktas. Krishna then tells to Arjuna That place is Avyakta, unmanifest. Avyakta, that which cannot be described in words, which is not manifested to us. Akshara, that is Aksharadham, that which is never destroyed. Tamahu Paramam Gatim, and it is declared as the supreme abode. Param Padam, Paramam Padam. Yam Prapya na Nivartanti. Then he says that having attained that, you will not have to return. Which means not willfully. When if I tell my devotees to come and do some seva in this material world, then maybe, but not willfully. Yes, like Srila Prabhupada says, I never wanted to come here to this material world. But the Lord told me, just go and just write some books and preach that way. And then it's all right, fine. And then Prabhupada came because these all acharyas are all liberated souls. They come here. Arjun came and Pandavas come and they come every millennium and they come and do seva and they do leelas with the Lord. Whenever the Lord comes into the material world, the pure devotees also come. The gopis came, Radharani came. So they do come, but they don't come out of their own will. And in fact, when they come, they don't come with material consciousness. And for them, because of that, they are always in the spiritual world. While being here, they don't experience material problems like conditioned souls. They are liberated. They are in their own bliss of being in the association of Krishna, of serving Krishna. So basically, that is the whole point of what Krishna wants to establish. Somehow or another, convince the living entity to stimulate the intelligence of the living entity to make the right choice. That look here, all this elaborate description of this material world is just for one reason, is to convince you that don't really aspire to go to any of these places. And out of all these places, Bharat, the earth is the best. It is explained that heaven has got too many enjoyments, too many distractions. It is explained that the people there, the gods are so beautiful that in comparison, human beings look like animals actually. In fact, when the gods are, sometimes they fight, they curse each other to become humans, Just like sometimes human beings curse each other, to become animals. In Hindi, we say, "Hey, kutte, abe dukkar, suar," like that. All this in Hindi, we curse each other by taking the name animals, but they're actually not swear words. They're just animals. The animal, why? But we use them as swear words because you call a human a donkey or an ass or a boar. I mean, it's like an insult. It's not an insult. It's not. I mean, they are animals. They are also living beings. So similarly, when gods want to swear at each other, they call them humans. That's how Bhishma, how he came down. How did Ganga come down? Ganga also was cursed to become a human for some time and live on this earth, and that's why she was married to Shantanu. You know that story. Shantanu was walking. He saw Ganga. He fell in love and married her and had so many children. And then finally Bhishma was born, who actually lived. All other children died and Bhishma continued to live, and then Ganga goes back to heaven. Yes, you know that story, Mahabharata. So she was a goddess actually. She didn't belong here. And Shantanu became attracted to her celestial beauty. She was so beautiful, so pretty. In fact, human beings look like cockroaches in front of them. It's said that when gods, they take bath within miles, the fragrance of their body prevails for miles and miles. When they go to take bath, they leave fragrance behind. We take bath, the opposite happens. People, before we go to take a bath, people have to run away. 1-2 days, if you don't bathe, how horrible. I mean, you have to use all these deodorants and the human body is not very, attractive when you compare them with the demigods. That's why when they have to curse each other, they say you become a human. That's why all the gods come down. All the gods have to come down when they are cursed. So therefore, in the heavens, there is too much of enjoyment, and therefore the people cannot focus on devotional service. And then in hell, there is too much of suffering, so much suffering that they can't again focus. So therefore, both in heaven and in hell, they are both aspiring to take birth on the earth planet, on a Bhumandala. Why? Because on earth, there is moderation. Not too much enjoyment, not too much suffering. The human body is not too bad, not too good. There's a good combination of both. And therefore they say, Gayanti Deva Kilagi Takani Dhanyastri Bharata Bhumi Bhage Swarga Pavargas Padahe Tubhute Bhavanti Uya Purushaswaratvat. And they are also praying that maybe on this earth planet, let it not be anywhere else, but on Bharatvarsha, that we want to be born. Again, if you consider that amongst all the places, Bharatvarsha, the attractive land of Bharata, is again in moderation. Everything about Indians, in one sense, if you see, it's moderate. Even their color, if the skin is like, if you see, it's not like too white, it's not too black, it's like in moderation, it's again in between. Well, I was once in the UK, they were saying, something like that. It's like when you toast a bread, take it out when it's brown. It's not true. So that's the color of Indians, you see. It's in between, basically. It's not that much. It's not here. It's not there. So Bharatvarsha is a Tabo Bhumi. If you go west, there's a lot of enjoyment. Everything all so plush and so fantastic in terms of infrastructure. There's money and there's enjoyments and there's every imaginable form of earthly enjoyments that you can think of. Everything is shiny, glamorous. Forget that there is Maya anywhere. You come to India, you realize it a little bit. Yeah? And then there are other countries in the world which are like not so privileged and very, very poor. And those countries are also there. So again, when you compare them, India is somewhat in between. So therefore, you can say the West and other Europe and places like that, you can think of them as a Bhoga Bhumi, where you go to enjoy, where you go to settle materially. And Bharata is Tapo Bhumi. It is a place where you do perform austerities. Tapa. It is a place of Sanskriti, culture. And here is a good combination of enjoyment. If you want enjoyment also, it's there. Bharatvarsha has got those facilities also. And at the same time, austerities to make you realize that, hey, this is not a permanent place. That is also there. And we have seen it actually. All the avatars and all, you see holy land. Ayodhya, Mathura, Maya, Kashi, Kanchira, Vandika, Puri, Dwaravata, Chaiva, Saptaita, Mokshadaika. Ayodhya, Mathura, Maya, Kashi, all these places, where are they? Bharatvarsha. Where are all the holy rivers? Ganga, Jamuna, Saraswati, Kaveri, Sindhu. Gange cha Yamuna chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmada Sindhu Kaveri Jalesmin Sanidhim Kuru. Where are all the holy rivers? And if you go to the UK, there's a river Thames there. Yes. Is that considered holy? Yes. Anybody knows? Is river Thames considered holy? Okay, I am not sure. But is there any other rivers in the world which is considered holy by the people there living in that civilization? Maybe, may not be. But if you see, like Saraswati and Ganga, and they're all considered holy. It's all considered holy. And that's why it's a place, it's a spiritual place where Krishna consciousness is most you'll find saints here. As I said in the last lecture also, that you do find saints. Why is Bharatvarsha most importantly eulogized? Is because you can find saintly people, good association, a devotional association. As we had discussed last time. Bhavadvida bhagavatas tirtha bhuta swayam vibhu tirti kurvanti tirthani swantastina gadavrata. That most importantly are the holy men. who are verily holy places. Holy men, when they go, they make holy places. Wherever they put their foot becomes holy place. Like we see Srila Prabhupada. Because of the grace of Srila Prabhupada, now wherever he went, all have become holy places, isn't it? I mean, you go to Europe, you go to Australia, you go to the Caribbean or wherever you go, there are Prabhupada has gone there and he has established ISKCON centers there. And I know of so many people who didn't become devotees while they were in India, but they went abroad and they became devotees. I mean, they had nothing to do with spirituality. In fact, people who they were Indians but hated Indian culture and they went abroad and somehow I don't know what happened and then they met devotees and see the irony. Fate, it's the full 360 they did. Going out of India, but Krishna never left them, brought them somehow to Krishna consciousness. All because of Srila Prabhupada, who walked this earth, circumambulated this world 14 times and established so many ISKCON centers. And as a result, we see people becoming devotees, not just in Bharatvarsha, but abroad also. And so that is the whole idea. That is the whole idea, is to somehow or another be engaged in Krishna consciousness. Yes, I mean, there are so many people who do not worship Krishna despite being in India. That is also a fact. Therefore, Mahaprabhu says, Bharat Bhumi, that Bharat Bhumi le hoite manushya janmajar jivan sarthak kari kar paropakar. Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally says, Bharat Bhumi te manushya janmajar jivan sarthak kari. If you are born in Bharatvarsha, then it becomes your prime duty to practice Krishna consciousness and preach it for the welfare of others. Especially for the Indians, it is a prime duty. So Bharat is the guru of the whole world. Vishwa Guru. What are Indians meant to do? Not go running behind money and all these silly things. It's meant for what? Bharat Bhumi te hoile manushya janmajar jivan sarthak kari. Perfect your life. Jivan sarthak kari kara paropakar and help others in attaining that same goal. That is what Indians are meant for. And, Mahaprabhu says that. Bharat and Bharat Bhumi. So, coming back also to the fine points which Srila Prabhupada has made in the purport. Mrityu Sarva Harascha says, even death is Krishna. Prabhupada gives the example, you see, of these kittens. The cats, they have these young ones, yes. Sometimes these small kittens, they stray away from the bill, and then the mother cat goes and picks up the kitten and brings them back. And if you've observed how the cats carry their young ones, they hold them with their mouth, they bite them on the back of their heads. And as young children, they sometimes look at it and they think that, oh, how can the mother be so cruel to the children? But actually they're not, they're very loving. Even though they bite their kittens, they don't hurt them. Even though with that same mouth, they kill the mice, they hunt, but when they are holding the young ones with their mouth, it is very lovingly, yes, it's a loving touch, embrace. So the mouth is the same, but it is perceived differently by the kittens. For the mice, it is death, and for the kittens, it's mother's embrace, mother's love. So also, if we are non-devotees, then Krishna comes as death. And if we are devotees, then death comes as Krishna. Mrityu sarva harascha aham. I am death. And therefore, death is the final exam. What do you see? Do you see Krishna there or you see death there? Like Dhruva Maharaj, he saw what? He saw death and he says, hey, death, bow down, I want to climb into the Vaikuntha Viman, because both came. The vehicle from Vaikuntha came. At the same time, death also comes. So he tells, bow down, I want to step. Because he was very small. He was a small boy. The ladders of the Vaikuntha Viman was very high. Couldn't really put his foot on there. So he tells death, you bow down, I want to reach that. So then he puts his foot on the head of death personified. And he boards the Vaikuntha Viman. Taduttanah padaputro dadarshantakammagatam mrityur murdhani padam dattva arurohad adbhutam graham. Mrityur murdhani padam dattva. He puts his feet on the head of death personified and he boards the Vaikuntha Viman and proceeds for the spiritual world. So, it is how we perceive. For a devotee, death is Krishna. And for a non-devotee, Krishna is death. Because everything is Krishna. There's nothing besides him actually. Yeah, that is how it is. And so he says that similarly, auspicious and inauspiciousness was also actually a cause, is caused by Krishna. There is nothing which is not. He's the cause of everything. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sarvakarana Karana. Sarvakarana Karana. He's the controller of both auspicious. You see, when you can appreciate this point when you study the Christian religion or you study other religions, maybe Islam also, where I know they say that there is a devil, yes, or they say shaitan, Islam. And it seems, according to their religion, that this devil functions independently of God. And every follower of Christianity or Judaism, or for that matter, Islam, they say that you should be careful of shaitan, of this devil, because he's always there to tempt you and stray you away from the path of righteousness. That way. Yeah, please, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. So you're free to leave, yeah, whenever you want to. So the idea is that they have this understanding that the devil operates independently. However, in our theology, we firmly believe that even what they call shaitan, we call Maya, the devil, which is responsible for causing temptations within all living entities, is actually under the control of God, which in fact is more logical. How can God be the super controller of everything and then have something operate independently, even without the knowledge of God? How is that possible? Doesn't make sense, isn't it? Devil is doing something, in secret and private, he's scheming, and then God doesn't know about it. So it makes more sense to see that how the auspicious and inauspicious, that means of operation of Yogamaya and the operation of Mahamaya, both are actually within the control of Krishna. Doesn't it make sense? More sense, actually. It's more logical. Everything is within the control of Krishna. In fact, Mahaprabhu says that every obstacle is also serving Krishna. Even the devotees who face with obstacles, they are sent by Krishna in order to make us strong. Therefore, it is said, do not be afraid of austerities, because obstacles and austerities, they make us more strong. That's why they say, na ki wo pathik kya jo, what is that? Wo navik kya, जब धाराएं प्रतिकूल न हो, वो पथिक क्या जब पथ पे बिखरे शूल न हो. What is that verse? It says, it's the Hindi saying, it says that वो नाविक क्या जो जब धाराएं प्रतिकूल न हो और वो पथिक क्या जब पथ पे बिखरे शूल न हो. That means if you have not treaded the path of thorns, then how can you be called as a seasoned traveler? And if you have not gone through rough winds, how can you be called as a good sailor? Even a butterfly has to undergo some struggle in order to be transformed from being a worm to a butterfly. It's a struggle, isn't it? What is a diamond actually? That's why they say that what is a diamond? It is nothing but a piece of charcoal which did well under pressure. So obstacles, pressure, austerities, tapa, what we call, are all necessary things in order to make us strong. And therefore, they've all been orchestrated by the Lord himself. These are all tests, and we should never shy away from them. We should see them in the proper perspective, see them as the Lord's grace, Lord's mercy. And in that way, when you see them in that correct perspective, then you may never be miserable. Therefore, a devotee never suffers the way materialistic people suffer, because they see everything, hands in the God of hand in everything. And that's why yoga is possible. What is yoga? Who's a successful yogi? When he sees the Lord's hand in everything and anything. If you see the Lord only in happiness, that is also a problem. Generally, people see the opposite. See, so therefore, we have to learn to see God's hand in every situation. How can you see something as devil and something as God separately? No, that separation is only illusion. There is no separation. There's God and God always in every situation. And that's why you see that it makes more sense. Sanatana Dharma is more logical. So that is one point which he makes here. And, Katha Upanishad, Shvetashvara Upanishad is quoted here. How the Lord is in charge of everything. He's a super soul. Lord is within all of us. As witness, never leaves us alone. So therefore, being God conscious or being able to see the Lord everywhere is not just an imagination. He's actually everywhere as a super soul. Is it not? I mean, to say that, no, just think, see God, learn to see God everywhere. It sometimes may sound like what is it? Like a feel-good kind of thing. But actually, it's literally like that. The Lord is everywhere. The fact is that we have to learn to recognize Him. Sthavara jangama dekhi, na dekhi tara murti, sarvatra hoya neja ishtadeva spurti. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita is saying that Sthavara jangama dekhi, na dekhi tara murti. How does a pure devotee see the world? He doesn't see moving and stationary objects. He sees his worship of the Lord everywhere. That is his vision. Everything he sees the Lord. And this is reality. It is not just imagination. Yoga is actually to establish you on truth, Satya, on eternality. And but the Lord plays hide and seek, you know. Hide and seek. As children, we have played hide and seek. Yeah. So when God decided to hide himself, then he hides in such a way, it's very difficult to find him out. You know, he's gone and he's everywhere also. It's difficult to find someone who's everywhere. It's nowhere. It's like that. So he's an expert at playing hide and seek. He hides himself from us with the curtain of Maya. So we have to somehow learn to recognize him and identify him. And the day you identify him, hey, I caught you. And then you go running and all the children go and say, oh, found you, I discovered you. So that's the time when you reach perfection. Find the Lord. So the Lord is like a game of hide and seek. Yes, the Lord is hiding and we have to go and find him out where he's hiding. And then you say that, Lord, I have discovered you. Now you cannot escape. That is the time. So how do we do that? How do we discover the Lord? This is how we discover. Srila Prabhupada has said, you take up to the chanting of Hare Krishna and you follow the basic principles of Krishna consciousness. So that is the way. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Excellent class and a very enlightening class today. I have a small question, Prabhuji. God is everywhere, right, as a super soul. But why people are thinking we are great like that, Prabhuji? How can we convince them?
Why do people think that we are great?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you see, that is because of illusion and the tendency to cheat. Whenever we do something, we are trained, Prabhupada has trained us to not take credit for what we do. So whenever people appreciate us, we should transfer that credit to the worthy and point it out to the one who has given us the ability, the words, or whatever we are presenting to others. And that requires honesty and not take the credit which is due to the Lord. The Lord deserves all credit. And if you don't do that, due to our wickedness, then the world will appreciate us as, oh, great, you are the great, you are the great. Oh, they'll also make you God and worship you as one. But what is the point? Because like Shankaracharya said, Shama Mandale Bhupa Bhupala Vrindai Sada Sevitam Yasya Padar Vinde Manaschena Yag Lagnam Guru Rangri Padme Tathakim 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 Tatha. So he says Tathakim Shama Mandale Bhupa Bhupala Vrinde. You become so great. People of the three worlds, YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and all these three worlds are appreciating your glories. Oh, you're so great. Shama Mandale Bhupa Bhupala Vrinde Sada Sevitam Yasya Padara Vinde. And you've got so many people running and following you. Oh, you've got so many followers. Sada Sevitam Yasya Padara Vinde. And then Manaschena Lagnam Guru Rangri Padme. But your head does not bow down to your Guru and the Supreme Lord. Tadakim, 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 Tadakim. So then what is the use? What is the point? Because you're cheating. Because the glory which belongs to the Lord, you have taken for yourself. You are allowing the people who are following you to think that it is you, but it is your duty when you get the credit to say, where did I get this from? I'm getting this all from Guru and Gauranga. And that way you will always be reminded that I am not great. I am but a servant. We have to always be grateful. Therefore, my Guru used to say, Radhana Swami always says that if you are not grateful, you are a great fool. So let us not make a fool of ourselves. Let us not be an illusion. Because no matter what people think of you, it is important what God thinks of us. We may win the hearts of these people of this world who are naive, vulnerable, and Indians, all they need is to proclaim yourself. They're just waiting for someone to come ahead and say that I am God, and they will bow their head and worship you also, do Aarti also. That's what Indians are. Dekho, har mahina, so many Babas and Maas, and some people will embrace you and impress you, and some people will give you really some solutions which are like really weird, and people feel impressed with that and they'll worship you. It doesn't take much to become famous and get followers. And when you have followers, you think you're great. Let us not be in that illusion. Therefore, Prabhupada says that don't come and try to be the greatest. Don't try to be the greatest. Don't try to be the smallest. Be in the middle. That is our safe position. So therefore, it all boils down to whether we are honest or not, actually. We have to have that integrity to transfer the honor to the worthy. And the Lord is worthy, Guru is worthy. If we keep the credits and the appreciations to ourselves, we'll be doomed. Krishna will say, all right, you want it? Fine. Continue to be a god. Maybe next life you will be some god or something like that. Maybe we'll be Indra, Chandra, or God knows what. Our names will also be in the Vedas so that we can be worshipped like that. We'll get the worship of all our followers. But what will be the use? We will not be with Krishna. And only bhakti can satisfy the soul. None of these things. That's why they say, जो यश की कामना करता है, वो रस खो बैठता है. If you want a ras, you will have to forego yash, the desire for being appreciated, for being honored in this world. The false ego is the greatest obstacle on the progress in the path of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. If anybody have any questions or allegation, please go ahead, devotees.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Very beautiful class, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare
Krishna.
Yes.
Prabhuji.
Hare.
Such a wonderful class, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, so whatever we do, we have to give the results and credits to Lord Sri Krishna, Guru and Gauranga. So that we are doing, but still when we want to convince the non-devotees, how it is possible, like how can we convince them? So because there are various people, they are worshipping demigods, right? So we can see elsewhere in India, so they will just criticize, you know. So in that case, how can we at least not convincing, at least we can say them, okay, this is the fact, so that they will accept it. How it is, Prabhuji? How can we say?
When you approach them, don't hit on their head. Touch their hearts. See, we generally approach with the intellectual, with the books. We come with the books and we try to hit them with that. What do they? Connect to their hearts. That is the way. Develop a relationship. संबंध बनाओ. संबंध होगा तब संवाद होगा. जैसे संबंध होगा तब संवाद होगा, अन्यथा विवाद होगा. So that sambandha is important. Be a friend, probably we have, coming to ISKCON, we have forgotten how to make friends. What do you have a friend? Just to be there with them, just to have a nice chat, share your problems with them, hear from them solution, give them solutions when they have problems, be there to hear them. Dadati pratigranati goyamakyati prichati. All those principles which Acharya said. Sometimes we may have to do these things, with even materialistic people, and be around them, and so that they feel that you are a friend. You are happy when you are with them. When they come, you have a smile on your face, and they just want to hang around with you. And when they are your friend, then they open their hearts. That is the whole idea. Sambandh banao. Sambandh. The relationship is everything. Then comes philosophy and all those things. That is not. Therefore, philosophy plays, therefore they say that your relationship plays 85-90% of the work in preaching. Then comes prasad, around 5 to 10%. Then, rest everything. Philosophy is about 1 or 2%. Generally, we put 85% philosophy. The moment someone comes, then we start, talking. Philosophy, Krishna is Supreme, Vedas, and we quote references, and we do this and that, and all. That comes way later. First touch their hearts and be a friend to them, which may require that you don't even speak anything about Krishna. Speak about some peripheral subjects which even Krishna has spoken about, like say maybe soul and a healthy life and something like that. Yes.
Prabhuji, one question in the chat, Prabhuji. Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Yeah, fine.
Thank you, Anta Mataji. Question is
that okay? I mean, the person who asked this question last.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes. So we have to develop only the first friendship, and then we can go ahead with Krishna's philosophy. So that's what you mentioned, right?
Yes, right.
So right away, when we are saying, like, for example, when we are preaching also, when we say that, okay, all the demigods are worshipping Krishna only, so they get bewildered. So that is the point actually it's happening. So then they come in personal chat and they will ask, why you said so, what are the reasons for this?
If they
So that's
ask, then you may say. If they ask, you may say that. But yes, so therefore it requires some experience, it requires some practice.
Yeah.
But as I said, it is the way to a person's heart is through his stomach. Yeah. So give them some nice prasad and be their friend, be as a friend.
Yeah.
Because if we approach people conditionally, that okay, I'll be your friend only, if you become a devotee. If you give that impression, people are very quick to sense it. Then, because love should be unconditional. You have to love everyone, whether they're devotees or not devotees. That requires purity. You hate the sin, not the sinner. And generally what happens is when we see that someone is not a devotee, we tend to not like them so much. So that is what puts people off. When people see that we are also sectarian. That love should be unconditional. Then how you approach them with philosophy comes second. We have to learn to see people as a soul. And that requires advancement. When we ourselves are advanced in Krishna consciousness, then we will be able to look and approach people with that in that way. But never mind if we are not able to make devotees. My guru says the one person you can make a devotee, that is yourself. You can definitely preach to yourself and become a devotee at least.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice answer, very nice explanation. Thank you.
Yeah. Let people see that unconditional love, in us, and that I think is the best impact that we can create in people.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. One more question in the chat, Prabhuji. Why has God given us the option of demigods when He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Name is not.
How come you are reading the chat and I'm not able to read the chat? How come I have not seen that message? It's there. I can also see that question.
Yes, Prabhuji. Chat, if you can go down, Prabhuji, the second one. There is no name.
I've not got that question. Okay, fine. All right. So why did God create the demigods? Yes.
Yes,
why did
Prabhuji.
God create the demigods? And okay, so the example is given of a shopkeeper. There's a shopkeeper and there are parents, and sometimes the child wants to do something which may not be approved by the parents. Like, for example, the child will go with say money to the shop and say that mujhe ek packet cigarette do, give me a pack of cigarettes. So the shopkeeper will not discriminate that why is this young boy purchasing a packet of cigarettes. If that child takes that money to the father and says that when you're coming back from office, get me a pack of cigarettes, the parent will say definitely will not oblige. So there is a difference between the roles of these two people. When it comes to parents, they are not duty bound, but when it comes to the shopkeepers, they are duty bound. Yes. So the demigods is in the role of a shopkeeper. Okay? The Lord has created or put these demigods in their places with certain responsibilities and functions. Okay. Now, if somebody wants to leave home, they don't want to live at home. Because when you live at home, you have to be at the mercy of your father. Isn't it? It's not that you give money to your father and then he gives you a place to stay at home. It's not that if you give money to your father and say, get me a pack of cigarettes, your father will oblige. No, you have to live in your house according to how your father says. So if a child decides, no, I don't want to live with my father, then you enter into a zone where now you deal with people who are doing their duties as shopkeepers. Okay, you want something, then you go, you get a job, you work in an office where these people are doing the job, their duties. So if you put in some effort, then you will get paid. Then you enter into the zone of karma. You go to a shop, you want to purchase something, you have to pay the price if you get it. So when you leave home, you enter into a zone of karma. When you are at home, you are in the zone of bhakti or mercy, where things don't work according to how much effort you put. Whether you put effort or not, sometimes even children who are special children who are born with disabilities and all, parents, they take care of the children right up to the end. They don't see, अरे मेरा बेटा कुछ contribute नहीं कर रहा है, घर पे कुछ करता वर्ता है नहीं, बस सोते रहता है. The child is not able to do that, but the parents will love them unconditionally. Why? Because the children are at the mercy of the parents. So that works with different dynamics. But what to do if the child wants to run away from home? Because he can. If he desires, no, I don't want to live in my house. I don't like my father. I don't like my mother. So what will the father do? All right, so fine. So leave. And then he leaves. So therefore, when we are with Krishna, and we are having that relationship, dynamics of not karma exactly, we are at his mercy. But when we say, I don't want you, and then the Lord says, all right, I've created the system of this material world, which is run by gods who are doing their duties. So you put in your work and you will get your result. The gods are there to give you your reward according to your karma that you do. You please them. And if not the gods, then the politicians and your employees and all those people, you go around and you try to satisfy these people, please them. Fine, if you're happy with that, do it. And then we have to go. People licking people's backsides for something so petty. And ultimately, what do we get? We get only death. So that is the thing. So therefore, that arrangement is there because the souls have desired to leave Krishna's company and he wants to be independent. So this is the arrangement for that. This material world, even though Krishna can run this material world himself, but there are other people who wants to do seva. So Krishna says, all right, even the gods are living entities just like us. So they are put in those respective positions. And the law of action and reaction is there. Does that make sense to you? I mean, whoever asked that question may respond, and I will know.
Thank you, Prabhuji. It does make sense. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, can I ask you a question too?
Yeah, of course, I'm here for that.
Law of karma, like if you're going somewhere, you're going to get the reaction and action to your own karma. So basically, if you leave home and then you become God consciousness and you have no place to go and you're just wandering here and there, what is the law of karma? And you're chanting Hare Krishna at the same time.
Oh, you still have the desire when you're chanting Hare Krishna to go here and there and enjoy the material world a little bit and then again come back and chant also. Yeah. Is that the question?
No, the question is like, let's say somebody just leaves home and just wanders here and there and then chants Hare Krishna wherever they sit, wherever they walk. What is the law of karma? What will they attain? They will attain that at the time of the death. But what will they attain? Is that like someone just walks, like an example would be Vrindavan. Someone doesn't have a place to live, but they're just walking in Vrindavan, chanting at the same time, sleeping anywhere.
Hey, look, I gave that example as an analogy, please. Don't take it literally. I'm not saying about children who leave their homes.
I'm not taking anything literally. I'm just asking a question.
If somebody leaves the home and goes around into Vrindavan and chants God's names, okay,
not
practically
Vrindavan, anywhere in the universe, anywhere. Like someone leaves their parents' home, they go out, they walk around.
Oh, and they take, okay, and they become devotees, they're chanting Hare Krishna like that.
they just chant Hare Krishna, and they're just walking with their japa mala, and they don't have a place to go, like, so what they do, they sit somewhere, then they walk some more, then they sit somewhere. An example I gave,
Okay.
Vrindavan would be like just an
Yeah,
example.
but then, well, that's what even devotees do, isn't it? Like if you see Madhvacharya, he took sannyas at a very young age. If you see Shankaracharya, he took sannyas at a very young age. If you see all these acharyas, Jiva Goswami, Gopala Bhatta Goswami, they all left home at very young ages. Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, they all left
So,
to chant God's names and do seva for the Lord, and that's okay.
so the law of
If they
karma,
have
how will that affect him? How will
karma, if someone leaves home to surrender completely, fully to God's service, then Krishna takes care. Didn't the gopis leave their homes to come to Krishna? So you can only leave home for Krishna consciousness. That is allowed. For Krishna consciousness, you can leave home, but otherwise leaving home is not advisable.
Thank you, Hari.
Yes, only for Krishna's sake, it is allowed. Isn't it? That's what when the gopis came to Krishna, Krishna said, "Why did you leave home? Don't you know that chaste ladies should be serving their husbands or their mother-in-laws or their father-in-laws or their children? You left all those duties to come here in the middle of the night to meet a stranger." So Krishna is telling them dharma, that it is your duty to be at home and serve your parents. And then the gopis, do they go back? The gopis don't go back, and they say that, well, the goal of family life is to ultimately realize that you have to be worshipped. What do parents give you? I mean, what do husbands give you? What do children give you? Just trouble? You're telling us to go back there. We are left. It's like vomit for us now. Do you drink your vomit? Sannyasis also, they leave home. Prabhupada also left home. See? So the gopis are saying that to serve you is the highest accomplishment. And only for that purpose alone, one is allowed to give up family duties. Okay, I'm talking about that ideal situation. Now, I'm not sure, case to case now, if someone has left home but is doing something else, if you give up your duties prematurely, then you incur sin. That's why it is said that you do your duties, fulfill your duties at home till you are detached, till you have no desire to enjoy anything in this world. Then when you reach that stage, then you can give up your duties. Only when you are ready. Prematurely, you cannot give up your responsibilities.
Okay, so basically, I followed you. The thing that you replied to me is, person can only leave home for Krishna consciousness to become 24 hours Krishna consciousness, and they can only for Krishna. They can leave home, live their life, and then they will want to be attached or engaged to Krishna consciousness and be with Krishna consciousness.
Yes, and that means that leaving home with guidance, with the permission of Guru, with the permission, with the consent of other devotees, and according to scriptural injunctions, what is the condition at home, and many other things, those things like that. It's not whimsically. It's that one day you wake up and it's not like that. Wake up
Thank
and you
you.
decide
Now
to
you just added something more to it, so that also makes sense. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Yes, Mataji, please go ahead with your question. Hare Krishna, somebody is asking question. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept. Prabhuji, the question is, I mean, in Judaism or Christianity and Muslim religion, right? So, I mean, those scriptures are also written by a spiritual master, by guidance of God, of guidance of Krishna, I guess. But why would they include this Satan or devil when the intention is to bring them also up to God consciousness?
Why should they include this concept of a devil?
Yeah, devil being independent of God, and
so that's why so the thing is that you see that the religions have been which have been given have been distorted over a period of time. If you read the history of the Bible itself, you'll see that there are so many messages of Jesus Christ which has been deleted, like the concept of reincarnation of many lives, all those things. So when it's called as the canonization of the Bible. There was a king. If you read the history of Christianity, when the kings had decided that let's include these books and call them the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament and things like that. So some of the chapters, like going to hell and suffering and coming back and all those things which were in fact mentioned by Jesus, were left out. So it was the decision of the authorities, the kings in those days, in consultation with the priests in those days, that this decision was made in order to motivate the people to take up to religion as a priority. With that hope, they did this. And as a result, you see that it ended up hodgepodge and with these lacuna of, because like if there's no rebirth, then how can you explain why are bad things happening to good people, good things happening to bad people? Why are some children born with some physical defects? Some people die even without knowing what is religion. Where do they go? And all those questions crop up. It's all because of that incomplete presentation of the theology of God consciousness. So that boils down to the authorities who have been responsible in bringing down that knowledge in their respective lineage. So there are many documentaries on this. It's called as the canonization of the Bible. Even I think BBC has made a documentary on this, where they said that in fact the original Bible had many other things like concept of reincarnation. So therefore it is a little hodgepodge, incomplete, and discontinuity, and a lot of confusion actually. Very vague also. That's why so many people leave that religion, because they are not satisfied. It's just not convincing enough for them to continue. Logical minded people cannot make sense out of it. So therefore it says, evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu sakalene hamahata yogo nashta parat. That due to the passage of time, religion also disintegrates. And therefore God has to again and again come and re-establish the correct principles. So therefore, if someone is dissatisfied with Christianity or Islam, they can most certainly come to our Sanatana Dharma and take a look at this philosophy, theology. It is most satisfying, it's most logical. So therefore, what is the need for God again to re-establish Christianity in its purest form? There is no need, because Sanatana Dharma is already there. It's there already. So someone and that's what Prabhupada has demonstrated. Whether you're Christian, Jew, Parsi, doesn't matter. You just take a look into the Gita and you'll find everything that you're looking for.
Thank you. One question is I know because we have so much conditioning for gazillions of lifetimes, right?
Gazillions of
lifetimes, like so scientific. But is there I know to chant Hare Krishna purely will take away, but which I still I don't understand the purity of chanting Hare Krishna one time and dissolving all those conditioning. But so do you know what can we do which can take away this conditioning in a moment?
Therefore, I took that message from last God Purnima, where Mahaprabhu says that just love devotees and serve them. And that is the way to attain Krishna consciousness. Very That's it. Just don't offend devotees. Take a very humble position. That requires taking a very humble position, very, very humble. And that will ensure that. That's why I said, Bahu janme yadi kare shravan kirtan tabutan apaye Krishna premadha. Many lives you chant Hare Krishna, but still you will not get Krishna prema as long as you're continuing to offend the devotees. That is the problem, that when we chant Hare Krishna, we are at the same time offending. That is the reason why we sometimes don't get taste, or it's taking a long time. We may not realize it, how we are offending, like that. So therefore the 10 offenses are there, to continue to have material desires while we are chanting Hare Krishna, to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives propagating the holy names of the Lord, to consider the names of Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the names of Lord Vishnu, to disobey the orders of the spiritual master. I mean, do we do that? I mean, do we go to the Guru and say, Maharaj, what should we do? Instruct me. No, but we go like, okay, Maharaj, I've decided to do this. Please give your blessings. Not that way. You don't go to Guru that way. I've decided to do this. Please give me a blessing. What is this? No, we say, Maharaj, tell me what I should do. How can I serve you? That is the question. That means we still have our independent desires. Why don't we give the reins to our Guru and tell him how we should lead our lives? So those are all constituting to offenses in that sense. Some major, some minor, but nevertheless they are offenses, and as long as the offenses are there, then it will take longer.
Because these offenses are sometimes can be very subtler, right? I mean, even though we're all trying to. I mean, I'm not trying so much. We're trying towards being more cautious.
It is easier said than done. Obviously, it is easier than done.
Then what is the solution? And I mean, if you're going to be like this perpetually, so what's the solution?
It will not be. It will not be. It is up to us. That is up to you. It all depends on us, the choices we make in life. Every soul is different, and it all depends on what choices you want to make. Prabhupada said, if you decide right now to just give up all your independence and just be an obedient servant, Karishye vachanam tava. That's what Arjun did, isn't it? Nashtamoha smrita labdva tat prasadat mayakshda studosmi gata sandeha karishye vachanam tava. So it all begins that how soon we decide to actually become an unmotivated, unconditional servant of Guru and Gauranga. The day you decide that, right now you decide it, and that's the day you get liberated. That moment you say that, I am your servant, Karishya Vachanam Tava. You mean it, not just say it, but you mean it. And that day that moment you will be liberated, or anyone will be liberated.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
You see all Prabhupada's disciples, how like Prabhupada said, go to Delhi, open ISKCON temple. Okay, they did. Guru Das, he went along with, isn't it? Yamuna Mataji, isn't it? Okay, go to UK. And then Shyam Sundar Prabhu went along with Malti Mataji. Just see how surrendered they were. They didn't say, Prabhupada ji, how we can go? We are just married and children. Where do we live? Where do nothing? Unconditional. Prabhupada said, go. They went. Really, that is glorious actually, what they did, what they could accomplish, and surrender to Prabhupada because of that love for Prabhupada. We have to ask ourselves this question, do we have that much love for our Guru? And are we willing to follow what he says? Are we willing to go to him and say, I am your servant, tell me what I should do, how can I serve? That's it. Again, I say easier said than done. I'm saying this, whether you listen or not, I'm listening to myself. So I can see so many hands up. Hare Krishna. Oh, Kavi Karnapur. I know you. Have I met you?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Have I met you?
Yes, I know you. Yes, in Radha Gopinath Monday. Same Kavi Karnapura, but different. That time was Brahmachari.
Right. So where are you?
Yes.
Where are you?
I'm in
America?
No, I'm in Nigeria. Nigeria. Yeah, my country.
You were a pakka, strict, fanatical brahmachari. I remember that.
that was then. Yes, so I have a question regarding your recent statements about total surrendering and unconditional love, and that will be done. Like when you were saying it, I was thinking, and you gave an example of Arjuna. Yeah, although Arjuna surrendered to Krishna's instruction, but he still performed the duty he's supposed to do. Like, okay, he was a Kshatriya, and he has to do the work of a Kshatriya. And he only, Krishna convinced him to do his duty. But we were saying that sometimes the disciple, they go to the guru and they will tell the guru, I want to do this, please give me your blessing. So I was just thinking, like, it's like the situation of Arjuna also, who was confused about what to do, although he knows his duty clearly, but he doesn't know whether he should do it or he should refrain from it. And Krishna has to convince him to do his duty. So what do you think, like a disciple who is clearly convinced about, this is what I want to do? Because sometimes a guru may tell a disciple to do something. If the disciple is not on the platform to see or to be totally surrendered, at the end of the day, he may commit a parade and it will affect the disciple also. So if a disciple is convinced that this is what I want to do for Krishna, I'm thinking, is it not good for him to take the blessing and do it instead of first surrendering of Guru Maharaj, okay, whatever you ask me to do, I will do. And at the end of the day, if he's not following that, that will be detrimental to his spiritual life. So what do you think about this?
Yeah, that's what I said, that it's good. If you want to do, you're convinced about the way you want to serve Krishna, and you go to your guru and you express your heart and you do it, it's not wrong with that. Nothing is wrong with that. But certainly we have to understand that it may not be the highest. If we just admit that and we accept our position and we go ahead, maybe we will come to that level of going to the guru and then saying, well, forget about what I want to do. You tell me what I should do. And obviously, I think that, all the spiritual masters, who am I to decide that? But I think all gurus, they know that even if a disciple comes to me and says that, Maharaj, what should I do? The guru will not immediately say that, do this. Because he knows I may say something, and if the disciple is not able to do it, then he'll commit an offense and he will fall down. So therefore, gurus are also very careful before they tell the disciple some or give the disciple some instructions. Generally, Radhanath Swami Maharaj, if you go to him and he says, what should I do? Maharaj will say, just smile and Hare Krishna, smile, and he'll go away, because he knows we are not serious, we don't really mean what we say. But then he will test you and, ask and make sure that you actually mean what you say, because they are matured, they are very experienced. You see, all those dynamics are there, subtle dynamics. So, yeah.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Hari Bol.
Very nice answer, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Anybody else have any further questions? If nobody have any questions, Prabhuji, we can end the call here with your permission.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for enlightening class today. We are very grateful to you and we look forward to your association again and again in the future. Let's pay our obeisance to Prabhuji. Vanchakalpatarobhyasya kripa sindhuveva Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada
Hare
ki
Krishna.
jai.
Sab bhakton ki jai.
Krishna Prabhuji ki jai.
All glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the class. It's
Thank
always
you.
wonderful
Thank you
when you
very
come on
much.
Sundays.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Thank you to all. Thank you to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining today's class, and we'll meet again tomorrow. Thank you, Prabhuji, once again for such a beautiful class and very nice question answer session.
Yes, very nice.
Thank you for the service.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you,
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice lesson. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Shama Gauri Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, there she is. Hare Krishna.
And Gauri ki Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
You look so, what? There's some changes, but look beautiful. Shamagauri.